I welcome all the panelists and I thank you all for joining us here today. Talking about interiors specifically as a part of the hospitality industry. And I think now it has become quite, I would say, a rule rather than an exception for certain grades of hotels to use international consultants. In fact, most of the operators have a set of architects on the panel and they prefer using some of their known names rather than go in for outside the panel. What I want to ask is that when you get an assignment, a hospitality interior assignment over here, what is your approach? What is your starting point for design? What are the parameters that you set for yourself? And on what basis do you develop a design language? How do you take this project forward? Andrew?
Well, I've been to India many times. I live in London now, but 2005 to 10 years before that, I lived in Singapore and travelled all around Asia. I've worked from Sri Lanka to Bangladesh, so I'm fairly familiar. I would like to think I'm familiar with the customs and culture of the subcontinent, which is probably the first place we'd start. So we'll think about the location, what it means to the people who are going to come and visit. As for parameters, I try and tell the guys back in our studio that they should keep it simple. People design simple, no matter how impressive we want it to be, or whether it's grand or whether it's understated. Keep it simple because we have big problems with workmanship on site. So if you're going to make something very complicated, it won't get delivered, and you'll be disappointed. So I guess that's how we start.
A question that when you say that you like to look at the buildability and detailing and use of materials which is achievable, how do you ensure that, in the sense that do you have a database, do you have studies, do you spend time looking at what is buildable, what is available, how things are done, or what are the various ways that you sort of achieve this?
Tackle that. I mean, we're a very small team in London. It's a creative team only, production here in Delhi. But we travel a lot, and we stay in hotels, and we go to as many restaurants and bars as we can. So we have an idea of what's current, let's put it that way. Yes, of course, I'm sure we all keep extensive libraries and get the suppliers coming and telling us what's on the market and that. In India, there's a mixed tradition of what you can do and what you can't do. You've got fabulous skills in, say, wood carving or metal work, but you ask a guy to put the PowerPoint on straight, and it's a problem. It's something we have to live with. But there are wonderful local materials which locals don't like. It's a lovely stone, grey stone, copper, which you see everywhere in the back of the house. I'm sure they've got it here at the back of the magazine. It would work perfectly in a contemporary interior, black grey stone. But if I tried to put that in, the client will say, I'm not having that. I think I told you the story about the hand-painted tiles that we presented to an Indian client as part of what we thought was a beautiful scheme. And he said, well, you can't use those because you find them in every public toilet in India. We thought they looked fabulous. I'm going off the subject a bit, it's to do with sensibilities, cultural awareness, and well, I've been coming here for 20 years too. I only discovered that with public toilets last. I think you're identifying an important problem. It's the delivery, the project management, and the levels of skill in the interior fit-out company. You can get international contracting companies to build the building, but when it comes to fitting out, it's down to a very low level. And the quality of the project management. I have to be careful because the project manager on our current project is sitting over there. So, yeah, I think she's come to keep an eye on me. But it is about not tolerating this kind of, I have to say, there's very much a that'll do kind of approach when you're on site. But it's the contractors will take a quick look at the drawings and say, well, I think I don't really want this, I'll do that and that will do. It's down to the project manager. Yes, of course, we're not on site as often as a local designer would be. We have an Indian office as does. So I think you have to go even further forward in the process about this, because you've got to get the brief out of the owner first. And the owner and the operator often have opposing points of view, and our current project is a very good example of that, where we've got a European operator who wants cutting-edge contemporary design, and we've got an Indian developer who doesn't, put simply. And you've got to try and make our job always is we have two clients, but one of them is paying the bill, and the other one we hope will get recommended by for a future project. So trying to get the brief out of the owner is often the most difficult thing. And, you find yourself 3 months into the project before it becomes apparent that the owner, who's ultimately signing the checks, doesn't like orange or doesn't want that style of furniture in the lobby, despite the fact that you had a conversation in which you understood that's what they wanted. So I think it starts right at the beginning, and it's always helpful if the operator is on board then, rather than later, rather than experience on our current project is that, as I said, it's a European operator who likes to consider itself cutting-edge contemporary. And what we found with our developer, because he knows that his market is 80% domestic travellers, it's not the Europeans or Americans. We had an interesting conversation about how the perception of luxury is different here. This goes on from what you're saying, that it might be in Europe, whereas in Europe, you can design understated, sleek, fairly minimal interiors, and people with money will go there. The analogy that we came up with was that in London, I cycle to work. It's a matter of choice, it's a matter of lifestyle. But if you ride a bike in India, it's because you can't afford a car. There's a great deal of difference between perception and display of wealth and luxury here as Europe. You can't come with European sensibility or American sensibility and expect to design the same interiors. Locals, it's in every aspect. Staffing locals, for example, the Swiss operator doesn't realise just how many staff you might have in an Indian hotel. It's very difficult to try and bridge those differences of opinion if you've got two parties that won't listen to each other. Our job is often to go much further than interior design and actually bring them together.
I want to know that besides the luxury brands in India, have you all been involved in any other, let's say, non-branded hotels over here? Maybe Chuman and Andrew and Ritu, maybe if you could. Being international firms, yes, being associated with luxury brands which have international operators, yes.
We're targeting. We exist to service developing markets. That's why we splintered off from our American Richmond International, because we felt that Richmond were targeting 5-star plus, and they're expensive. Bespoke design done in London with 50 people working there, it's very expensive. Yet there's this huge market in India, China, Russia, Africa we're working, of what would be 3- or 4-star hotels in Europe that are considered here 4- or 5-star hotels. And you've got this whole range of Indian hoteliers now who are coming through, and we haven't successfully got any of the product yet. But, that's why I'm here.
It's only because the international operators are choosing to have you here, or you are truly over here in order to bridge the gap and be there
I think so. We've all got Indian offices, I think, haven't we? Yeah. So if you're serious about working in India, you've got to have a presence. You need boots on the ground, otherwise it's not going to work.
I think what you're asking is there value that we can offer beyond the luxury segment?
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I think the answer is yes. Because if you're really experienced in hospitality, you're not purely service provider anymore. You can offer a lot of value in terms of the brand equity, in terms of the whole strategy, the whole delivery system, and that's what we try to do. We try to work with owners who want to come into the hospitality business, and maybe they need advice being an architectural firm ourselves, we offer fundamental advice to people who either have land or money, and they want to move into this segment and don't know how. And I think that it's not purely just designing something and giving a whole bunch of papers. It's about the value that you bring to the whole exercise from the beginning.
There's a flip side of the coin here as well, and like you said that they may not necessarily be branded properties or five-star properties. But the flip side is that sometimes when we work with non-brand projects, and even though they are developers, it's actually more interesting because you are not guided, or rather we don't have parameters to work within. So it actually brings a different perspective and a different challenge. While on one hand, yes, there's a lot of hand-holding, as you said, because the developer has not got the experience of the running of a hotel and the operational side of it. But from a design point of view, you actually get a complete free hand. And if he's willing to listen to you, or you can convince him, or you can convince him.
But I do find that
I totally agree with what you're saying.
So it's and there are actually more such clients in India.
It's true. We work with a lot of non-branded local hoteliers who want to make a mark, sincerely want to make a mark in their business, and it's very interesting to see their aspirations are totally different from an international brand. And I think there's a lot of future in this, in terms of actually taking. I'd like to see an Indian brand other than the Taj make it big in terms of creating a boutique line, business line, and a budget line.
Well, I think they're coming, aren't they?
That's interesting. I think we've had a lot of nice discussion and a lot of opinions and a lot of inputs over here. I think I'm just going to throw this open to the audience for any questions.